welcome to another episode of Spritz of Wisdom, which, by the way, is the third to last episode of 2025. There are literally only 3 more episodes, including this one, until the end of the year. Can you believe it? So I'm really excited to get into these final 3 episodes of 2025 because I always get really reflective at this time of year. There's so much to share with you. So let's begin with my sip of the week. These are my highs and lows of the previous week living here in South Italy. First of all, I'm feeling extremely festive. Really and truly, yes. This year, for the first time, I've bought myself some Christmas jumpers here in Italy. I think I had a Christmas jumper a very long time ago, back when I lived in the UK, that said something like Prosecco, something like this. It was really nice. I don't know why I didn't keep it. But for the past 7 years that I've been living here, I've never bothered with Christmas jumpers. But this year I felt like it. And so I have this one that I'm wearing today, Mary Martinez, because I'm trying to keep it in line with the Spritz of Wisdom theme. By the way, if you ever happen to spot any Spritz merchandise, like not tacky stuff, because that's not me, but like funny, jokey, nice merchandise that has like a Spritz on it, please tell me because I'd be very interested. But nevertheless, this is my jumper if you're watching me on the video. And I love it a lot. So I'm really happy about that. I also have another Christmas jumper that I will save for the Christmas Day period, I think, as well. So I'm really, really pleased. Second high of this week is the fact that Spotify have released their annual Spotify Wrapped series. And this is where, if you don't know, they review your kind of listening habits for the past year. Now, they also have a creator series where they will review your podcast. And if you are new to my channel, because by the way, this Creator Wrapped edition actually told me that I've had a 75% increase in followers to my podcast. So thank you so much. But if you are one of those new people, you may not be aware, but this podcast used to be audio only and it used to be called Lessons from the Boot. And I decided this year to completely change format because let's face it, as much as we might not want to admit it, audio only podcasts are really rapidly becoming a thing of the past. Now people do video podcasts and you can have the option to turn it into audio. That is the future. And boy, oh boy, did the stats that I've received from this report prove it. Now, I'm super, super happy because I actually received 3 accolades from Spotify. The first was for Marathon Show of the Year. And this showed me that I think it was 72% of people listen to my episodes for longer than compared to other podcast shows, which is incredible. And I also received a couple of other accolades as well. A 2025 fan favorite and a 2025 talked about show. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for being on this journey with me and for also appreciating the new format. It really means the world to me. And it's proof to all of you that if you want to have different experiences, you've got to do things differently. My podcast is audio only, absolutely tanked everywhere. Now it's doing so much better because I moved with the times. So please take that lesson as part of my sip of the week and apply it to your life in whichever way it makes sense to you. Now, some other highs of the past week are that the weather's been pretty good, actually. I love to talk about the weather. I'm a Brit, forgive me. But there's been quite a bit of sunshine this past week. It's getting quite chilly of an evening, so it's feeling appropriate for this time of year, which makes me feel quite happy indeed. But yeah, I'm feeling really excited for Christmas and New Year. I have some time off over that period, so I'm happy to be ready to switch off because I think it's important. It's important to have some downtime. It's important to not constantly be on, but to also switch off because that, I really believe, is when your best creative moments appear. Now, leading into that are my lows of the past week here in South Italy. Now, I would say that I have really been quite hard on myself for this past week because for 2 weeks in a row, I haven't published a video on a Sunday to my YouTube channel. Now, I did publish it on the Monday last week, so it wasn't so bad. But this week, I don't have a video to publish. And I've just been really reflecting on this because pretty much all year, I have been publishing 2 long form videos a week on a Wednesday and on a Sunday. Now, on top of that, I've been doing random shorts, community posts, trying to do some bits on my Instagram. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you just how much work is involved in that alongside having a full-time job as well. And also, I kind of feel that me doing that has been me getting sucked up into the algorithm of YouTube because, of course, YouTube wants you to consume more and more and more. But actually, I have really been reflecting recently how my message is often diluted because I just have too much content to produce. So I'm going back to 1 video a week and it's going to be on a Sunday because that is the day when most people are active on my channel. And I want it to be a really high impactful video, something that, I have the entire week to plan, to record, to film. And I'm not just putting a video out because I've got to meet my schedule, and that's how it has felt at points this year. And I always like to keep it real on this channel, as you know. So I am really grateful about that. As much as I feel like I've been hard on myself and I'm like, you made a commitment, you're going to do 2 videos a week. It's just too much. Maybe in the future, if I decide to outsource some services like video editing, for example, I might consider going back to 2 videos a week. But at the moment, with everything else that I want to do with my brand, it is far too much. And I'm starting to fall out of love with the process. And I don't like that. So I'm changing things. So again, as I like to do on this channel, it's another low that's going to become a high. So really nice reflection to close off my sip of the week. Now, moving into the full pour of today's episode, as I said to you at the beginning, I like to get really reflective at this time of year. And today we are specifically focusing on what I got wrong this year living in Italy. Now, of course, what I'm going to talk about is not always directly connected to Italy, but it does concern my life here. And I feel like you can take some lessons from my experiences, shall we say. So the first thing that I got really, really wrong this year was that I compared myself way too much. And it really fell into 2 camps. I compared myself too much when it came to how my life looks here in Italy, but I also compared myself way too much when it came to like my content, my brand, what I'm producing. So if we start with the first camp, let me tell you, especially at this time of year, it's super easy to compare yourself to other people because people are spending time with friends and family. People are having like really exciting Christmas experiences and events. People are buying lovely presents. And I can promise you that if you spend enough time on social media, you too have seen that for yourself. And if you're not careful, you end up looking at your life and kind of pitting yourself against other people, many of whom you've never met in your life. It's just a way to really make yourself feel rubbish. And I have really noticed how much I've done that, not just now, but also at other points of the year as well, especially at the beginning part of the year. When we were going through the transition of like, okay, we need to leave Palermo, we need to come back to the Salerno province. There were so many moments where I was looking at my life at that point and being like, why does Palermo work for some people, but it doesn't work for us? Why are some people able to build lives here successfully, but we've not been able to? Why do they have this and I don't have it? Like, it was a really, really toxic moment, actually. And thankfully, I was able to recognize what I know is true, but which I have forgotten at different points this year, in that we all lead different lives and we all have different experiences. And as a result, some environments will suit other people better than others. And that's totally normal. And I think what I've got to remember as well about Christmas, at this season in particular, which for many people can be quite triggering if you don't have like the perfect family environment or the perfect, in inverted commas, life, because let's be honest, what is perfect? It doesn't really exist. I have to remember that we're all on our own journeys. We are all creating our own stories, creating our own lives. And we don't need to look, linking it into last week's episode. I'll link it up here and below if you've not listened to it, like carbon copies of each other. So yeah, this is something I got wrong in that respect, definitely. Like, I think there is a certain expectation when you live in Italy that your life will look a particular way, that you'll adopt particular habits and routines. And whilst I feel that I've leaned into that for the most part, I also feel that my life does look a little bit different on the other hand. And so I just have to embrace my journey and what it is and not keep looking externally outside of myself to kind of validate where I am in life. Like, that is one of the most toxic things you can do. And trust me, I've really noticed it quite a lot at certain points this year that I've been guilty of doing this. Linked into that also, on the other hand, is how I've been comparing myself with my content creation. I've touched on this in previous episodes, but I've been pitting myself against people who have been in this game for a long time. I'm talking years. And here's me, like nearly 5 years in, being like, I want to have that level of success. But there's a journey behind that. And I think, the danger of social media is that we only see the end result. We don't necessarily see the graft that's gone in behind the scenes for years to arrive at that point. Also, I'm comparing myself against people who have had very different lives to me, different education, different experiences, different jobs, different careers. How is it even like realistic of me to consider myself to be similar to somebody who has, I don't know, worked with some really high profile people, for example? It's crazy. And so I have really noticed that that comparison has affected me creatively. And I have found myself at points feeling stuck, that my content's not very good, that I could do better. And it's been really interesting to sit with that and to be realistic with myself and to say it's nothing to do with your content necessarily. It's to do with the way that you're looking at things. And this is actually the perfect segue for the second thing that I think I've got wrong this year in Italy, is that I've been framing things in the wrong way. Now, what I mean by that is that life here in Italy isn't always perfect. And I think I'm really honest with you about that on my YouTube channel and through the content that I produce. And at times, it can be very easy to lean into the imperfection and to make something of it and to make yourself feel terrible and to really become quite negative. And I almost in a way understand why people do fall down that rabbit hole. And sometimes I've fallen down that rabbit hole with my content because I see that people really do respond better to negative things than they do to positive ones. It's almost like we're wired intrinsically this way as humans. But there's a danger in doing that. And what I've really realized this year is that even though something on the surface might look difficult, if you frame it differently, you see it for the lessons that it can bring you. Now, I always go back to this move because it has dominated my 2025. But that situation that we were dealing with in Palermo, which was really not a pleasant situation, you know, like it was a moment of struggle. And I could very easily have continued to fall down that rabbit hole of like, life here is difficult. Oh, I've just got to get by. I've just got to do my best, got to keep hustling, got to keep trying to make things work. But actually the reframe was that it was a lesson, and those lessons have created better appreciation for me now. Now I'm back in the Salerno province and we've been able to stand back up on our feet again. And so it's this, I feel like the reframe is so important, and I've got it wrong quite a bit this year. I've also got it wrong with this whole working from home thing. So part of this move, if you don't already know, was that I now work from home, and it's a beautiful thing, but I have found myself slipping into but you know, like it's quite isolating. It's quite lonely. I don't always enjoy the fact that I don't have a lot of in-presence interaction with people. It's all through a screen. But the reframe on that is that this is really everything I wanted. When I used to go in presence to a school and have to keep going back and forth all day, you know, with disjointed hours and this kind of like to and throwing that used to annoy me so much because it wasn't a good use of my time, I would wish for the day that I could just solely work from home. And that wish has come true. Yet here I am leaning into the negativity and into the more challenging aspects of working from home, when actually it's really all I ever wanted. And it's this, you know, like now, yes, there are moments of my working day where I don't particularly like working very late at night, like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. I don't know. I feel like it's extreme. And perhaps that's one thing that I would like to change. But to have periods of time free for myself during the day, which, you know, maybe I can't always go out and do things, but I can certainly do other aspects like create content and work on the other things that light me up. That was a dream at one point, and it would never be able to happen if I had a standard 9 to 5 job, for example. So there are so many things that if you frame them differently, become moments of gratitude and appreciation, and they don't need to be this thing that becomes overly negative. Because I've also recognized that some aspects of my life irritate me. People sometimes irritate me, but everyone is our teacher and everything is our teacher. And that's the reframe. Looking at those things that at points I've become quite negative about this year and being like, well, that's teaching me something. Either it's teaching me how not to do something, or it's teaching me how to do things better so that I'm not the same. You know, it's a wonderful thing. It really is. And I haven't been reframing things enough. And so that has been another thing that I've got wrong this year, leaning too much into negativity, forgetting that in every negative situation, there is something that you can take from it, even if you can't really see it at the time. And like just not appreciating things as much as I would want to, because this is something else I've got wrong this year. I used to have a regular gratitude practice, but I've kind of fallen off the wagon with it. I used to do it every single day, but I just haven't really been doing it recently. And I'm telling you, our mind is super, super clever, because when you don't feed it good things, boy, oh boy, do those weeds grow. Like the negative thoughts and all of those toxic things creep in when you're not nourishing your mind. And so it's really important to focus in on appreciation. And, you know, I feel like I've not done that enough. And at times it can be so easy to talk about the negative stuff, right? So I think it's a really, really beautiful thing. What else have I got wrong this year? I would say, gosh, just not feeling confident at times. I told you I was going to be really kind of deep with this. This has come up in two ways: speaking Italian and filming in public. Both aspects. Speaking in Italian, I still have moments of fear because I know that I know more Italian than ever before, but I also know that I'm very blocked when it comes to speaking. And the same advice I give to my very own students about, pushing yourself. You've just got to do it. Don't worry about making mistakes. I just don't listen to. And isn't that the way we are very good at giving advice, not always so good at listening to it ourselves? And I want to change that for 2026 because I just want to speak more. And who gives a damn if I make a mistake, right? This is my biggest thing. I've had moments before people are like, cosa? And it's like, it knocked my confidence. I'm not going to lie. And rather than looking at it and being like, well, you know what? It's okay. Like, you're learning a second language. Be proud of that. I've been like, oh, okay, I don't want to speak because my pronunciation is not very good. So, that has been something that I've not been so happy with this year. And also the other side of it is filming in public. I want to do so many more vlogs outside. I want to be filming, but I'm always like self-conscious of people watching me and what they're going to think. And it's so ridiculous. Like so many times I'm like, I probably won't see these people again for one, but for two, what do you care? I'm living out something that I love to do. I'm living out a dream of mine. It doesn't matter what other people have to think. Like, let them focus on their dreams and let them do something that they want to do rather than judging others who are clearly doing what lights them up, right? Definitely some things to improve. I would also say some things I got wrong this year is that I overloaded myself with too many things. And this kind of ties into what I just spoke about in my sip of the week, in the sense that I've been trying to do everything, just me, all me, like, video editing, podcasts, social media stuff, newsletters, websites, products, only me. Which means that literally there is no distinction for me between work and rest. If I'm not working as an English teacher, I'm working on my brand. And this is exactly the kind of lifestyle that I didn't want. I don't believe there is a work-life balance, I'm honest. I think at one point I did, but I think the reality is that we have seasons in life. And I've really been leaning into this concept quite a bit recently in lots of different ways. But when it comes to work, you have seasons. There are seasons of your life where you'll work harder compared to others. There are seasons of your life when you'll be busier compared to others. So I think seasons are the thing. But I also want to experience what it means to enjoy Italy, to travel more, to explore. And if I'm constantly working, I leave myself very little free time to be able to do that. And so I've started to really streamline things. This is something I've really recognized in the last few weeks, especially. So I'm making those changes. I've started to streamline things and also reduce my posting schedule in a way to retain the quality and not to dilute it, because I feel like I just have to get something else out. So I'm working on that aspect. You will probably know, because I've referenced it in a few podcast episodes recently, as being kind of my low of the week when I open my episode. So that has definitely been something. Another thing I think I got wrong this year is that I didn't get to explore Italy enough. Now, a lot of it was because really this year has been consumed by our move, because we didn't just move across the road. We moved entire cities from an island back to the mainland. We restarted everything all over again. And one thing you should know about Italy, which I'm sure you are very, very well aware of by now, is that things take time here in terms of setting things up, in terms of getting yourself organized and settled down. And so it took a bit of time to get everything together. Now I can say we finally arrived at the point where we're there. But it's taken a lot of this year to organize myself and to feel that I'm where I want to be. And so it has meant that I've not really got to travel as much as I would have liked to. So that's something, again, I want to change for 2026. I want to explore Italy more. Italy is such a beautiful country. And so many of you comment on my content telling me I should visit this city or that city. And I really want to do it more. And I want to really understand Italy on a much deeper level, because it's one thing to visit as a tourist, but it's another when you want to understand a place from within. And that's what I'm about. So I'm really excited to do more of that, because it's something that I felt I got wrong this year. I didn't really explore Italy very much. I didn't really have the free time or the capacity necessarily to travel. But it's this. I just feel this year that it's been a year of transformation. Now, to quote Chinese astrology, the year of the snake is about shedding. And this is like a year where transformation takes place. You're like shedding the old skin to make way for the new. And I definitely feel that this year. Like a lot of these kind of things that I got wrong this year are part of the process of my transformation. And so my chin chin of this week is to do a little bit of self-reflection on your life this year. What are the things that went wrong for you in 2025? What are the things that you were not so happy with? What are the things that you wish had gone differently? This is the moment to feel uncomfortable with that, because it's not just about the highlights. we're not doing an Instagram show reel. If you are real with the things that didn't go well, you can make sure that you can do things differently for the next year. And not even just for the next year, but from tomorrow, from next week, right? We don't have to wait till 2026 to make changes in our lives. But it's this, you've just got to sit with yourself and you've got to sit with those uncomfortable truths about like what went wrong for you this year? What are you not so happy about? And so I feel like that's a really beautiful, reflective end of year exercise to do, but also something that you can do more frequently throughout the year so that you're constantly very self-aware of the way that you're living your life and you're not living it passively, but you're living it with intention. And honestly, that is something that is incredibly important. I will see you in the next episode.